Hello everybody, my name is Craig Bennett and I'm the founder and owner of TechViews Nope, and today I'm going to show you how to make a SSH tunnel, and I'm going to tell you some pitfalls and some advantages to using an SSH tunnel over a VPN. But before we get into it, let's get into a quick personal advertisement, and that way you know how to support me and help me out in future projects, since a lot of stuff does cost a bit of money. Thanks for sticking around during this transition. Now, if you want to help me out at all, either by financial or other means, then feel free to click the Patreon button to go to my Patreon campaign, and that way you can donate there and check out what I plan to do with the money. Or you can click the PayPal button and you can donate there. You can either donate one time there or do a monthly recurrence. And lastly, if you don't want to help out with money, either because you just don't have it or whatever it is, then feel free to share this video and share my other videos, and please check out the top button to go to my main channel. But anyways, hope that you like this video, and let's bring it back to the actual video. Welcome back, and for this example today, we're going to be using two pieces of free software for Windows, and specifically I'm going to be doing Windows 8. We'll be doing PuTTY, and we're going to be using Firefox. Now, you can use any web browser you want, and there's other type of pieces of software that you can use for this SSH tunneling as a proxy server. But for the most part, this is what I found to be most useful. The browser, you can pretty much use anything you want. The PuTTY is actually pretty good. Now, real quick, I want to mention that there is web-based software out there, web-based services that does some of that stuff. If you trust them, then fine, but if you don't, keep in mind that if you do go to actual websites like a bank or whatever it may be, and you're using them, it does decrypt on their end. They're able to see it, even though you might still get all the statements and all the whatever you need. They can probably be making a log of it for all you know, and keeping a duplicate of all the packages come across. So for all you know, your stuff is completely unsecured. So that's a huge thing to keep in mind. Also, some web-based services, they won't work on a lot of things. It's just for obvious reasons, for legality reasons. So for the most part, if you're going to want to do this, you really want to do this on your own computer, on your own servers. So before we jump on in and showing you how to actually do this real quick, simple thing, let me tell you the biggest differences between VPNs and SSH tunneling, the pros and cons, and some of the other things. So the biggest thing to keep in mind with SSH tunneling is this is called a poor man's VPN. It's easy to set up initially on one side, but it's a pain from the remote side. And one of the biggest cons I could find from it is basically with SSH tunneling, you have to set up per application, where VPN, you set up on the actual device itself and you're good to go for the most part. Now, there might be some operating systems out there and maybe some other things that pushes all your network stuff through a SSH tunneling, but I haven't seen anything out there. If you do know of anything that does this, then please feel free to leave a link below, and that way I and others can check it out. So for right now, until something else is said, expect that with SSH tunneling, if you got to set up per application. So if you want to use it on Firefox, Chrome, and Internet Explorer, and whatever browsers, and maybe some games, that means each and every one you got to set up for Firefox, then you got to set up for Chrome, then you got to set up for next, and next, and next. And there is possibilities that you're going to run into where the some applications doesn't allow you to set it up. Maybe some games, maybe some other programs, they won't allow you to set this type of stuff up. and that means you can't use it if you require the tunnel. So a VPN is very important in this instance. The other thing is government-wise. This is very important because I deal with an international crowd. A lot of people assume that I just deal with people in the United States, but I deal from people from the United States to Africa to China to wherever. And the truth of the matter is in some governments, they block some websites, some resources, and some other things. And the one thing to keep in mind is if you're using the SSH tunnel, again, many web services, they won't allow you to do many things. So you have to go through your own servers, your own stuff. And unless your own stuff is out and about somewhere in La La Land, outside the country, outside of the great firewalls in some of these places, then chances are is you're still going to get blocked from going to these resources, or at worst, and this is being the worst case, you will be found for going to restricted areas and trying to go to restricted areas and trying to hide your stuff. And that's a pretty bad scenario in many areas, or you can disappear and the government will do their job to keep things quiet. So that's a huge thing to keep in mind, especially if the country is at wartime, and that's been happening more and more recently. So as far as things goes in those scenarios, I suggest using a VPN, but also keep in mind there is no 100%, because in China, many people I know who went to China for a business trip and some of their stuff, they noticed that some of their VPNs weren't working at all, or were halfway working, and somehow the stuff was being blocked. And I know how. It's just that you need to go with a less known VPN, and a one that uses different ports and different things. So as far as that goes, let's get into some other things. Again, the biggest con that I can find of it is the application deal, set up per application, and that's the reason why I'm bringing it up again is with a VPN, you can assure, or for most part, 99% sure that your stuff is going across encrypted, your IP is encrypted, and yada yada yada. And I don't mean the IP address itself is encrypted. I mean where your traffic is coming to and from is encrypted. But as far as a SSH tunnel, you're pretty much stuck there. And it's useful for in schools and stuff like that, but beyond that, I don't see it. Or if you don't have the money for a VPN. So as far as that goes, there's not really too much else different. Why? It's easier to set up a SSH tunneling than a VPN, but other than that, there's not too much else difference. So how does this stuff work for the most part? Well, what happens is, and this is just a broad term, there's a lot of other things going on here. I'm going to glance over it, so keep that in mind. But pretty much with a VPN and SSH, a VPN, there's a couple more steps. SSH, what happens is, and this is again a glance over, a lot of things could be left out. You're at point A, being a remote site, home, wherever. Your SSH server is remotely somewhere else, somewhere not at your address, so it's at point B. What happens is your data, say for example you want to go to techreviewsnow.com, which is my site, feel free to check that out whenever, but say for example you want to go to that site. What happens is the stuff goes out, the packages go out, they go through the your computer to the internet provider for point A, goes to the internet, goes down to the internet provider for point B, goes to the SSH server, and then goes out to the internet. It encrypts and decrypts by your computer and by the SSH server, so when things come back, say for example you're going to techrefusionup.com, and the my server for techrefusionup got the request. It will send you the web page so you can download it. It'll go through the internet, goes to your internet provider, the point B's internet provider, goes to the SSH server, and it'll encrypt, goes to the point B's internet provider, goes to the internet, goes back down to internet provider for point A, and then goes to your computer and decrypts and does its job right there. So that's pretty much a glance over how this stuff works. So your point of failure is if your encryption is horrible, and if your data where it's being decrypted from the server, if you have someone monitoring the stuff from there, then you can run into a bad time. Now, if you're in a country where you have to worry about some of this stuff, which happens, and again, I deal with an international crowd, one thing you gotta keep in mind, and it's one reason why I like VPNs a lot more, especially third-party company VPNs, is, and I still advise using proxy beyond that, but basically what happens is you have a bunch of streams going to the VPN server, and from the VPN server you have a bunch of streams going out. If you have only, say for example, if you only have one stream going in and out of a SSH server or even a VPN server, then it's pretty easy to figure out where things are going, because the one thing to keep in mind is the IP address, the where your packages are going and coming from. There is no way to hide that. The reason is simply, and especially with SSH tunneling, is you have to, it's pretty much with any type of doing anything on the internet, the routers need to know where to take the data. They can't just magically say, I know where you want to put it. They have to know how to get it from point A to point B, and that means the IP address cannot be encrypted, which is very, very important. Now, with VPNs, one thing to keep in mind, and you can do this with SSH servers, but it will cost you a bit of money. And again, web-based services does not really do this. At least none that I really know of that's worthwhile. The VPNs, what they can do, and what some of them do actually end up doing, is you can have it where it connects to one VPN server, then it goes all the way to another VPN server, and that might be in a different country, then it goes to another one, and so on and so on. So it's like a Tor network, or it's like the Tor browser, and that's pretty much how the Tor browser works in itself. Now, if you're using a Tor browser on a SSH tunnel, then you should be generally okay as far as some of this stuff goes. But one thing to keep in mind is if you're trying to hide from the United States or an ally of the United States, a direct ally of the United States at the time, then you're going to run into the problems, because the people who made the Tor browser is the United States Navy, and I can guarantee you nothing on purpose, nothing gets out to the public without the military and so on knowing how to counteract it in case if it goes haywire. So that's very important to note, that if you're going and doing something that the United States doesn't want, or an ally of the United States doesn't want, then guess who made it and guess who can break it. So that's a very, very important note. But anyways, with that in mind, let's jump on in and show you how to actually do this. So after you got the stuff installed, what you need to do is simply go down to the SSH tab and tunnels, go to source port, make sure it's above 7000, so we're doing 7001, just be a little cocky. For destination, leave that blank. Look, this tab, make sure it's dynamic, and make sure this is auto. Press add, and go to session, go to host name, and from here what you need to do is put in the domain name or the IP address of the server. So I'm just going to put, and I don't have it set up here, so don't even bother. I don't really care to do that there. So anyways, I'm just going to put on my website. Again, I don't have it set up, so I'm not going to show you the login portion of it, but make sure that the port is something other than 22. So we're just going to do 23 again, be a little cocky. And for connection type, it needs to be SSH, and then go down here and put in whatever you want and save. Let's make sure that this is right. Yep, that is. And also make sure that this says D in front of it. And let's click that, press open. And again, I don't have the login stuff. Other words, it would have pulled up a bunch of things. But let's go into it when you load it up in a browser. So we're in Chrome or Firefox, and to load up here, we just go click the menu, go to option, go to advanced network settings, and click manual. And for down here, you need to put in your local host and or whatever, and then port that we done. I think it was 7001. Okay. And for us, it's showing that it doesn't work, but it really is working because, again, we didn't set up the stuff. So once you have that all said and done, what you can do is go to some Google search saying what is my IP address or whatever, and it will tell you the proxy's IP address and not your own. If you did it right, and everything should be going through there if you did it right. Again, that last little bit, the reason why it didn't work for us is because I didn't really set it up, and I didn't log in or do any proxy stuff, and I just wanted to show you the basics of it without actually doing it myself. Because again, I prefer doing VPNs over this. But if you're in a pinch for whatever reason, this will have to do. But anyways, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down there in the comment section, and I will try to answer it as quickly as possible. And also, if you got any tips or tricks that you want, leave down there. You can either email me on techreviewsnow.com, or you can just leave them down there in the comment section, and I'll try to get back to that as quickly as possible. Now, if you like this video, if it helped you out or whatever it may be, please leave a like, please subscribe, and please share. Also, please feel free to visit the Patreon page to help me out, or leave a PayPal donation to help me out so I can buy better equipment. But anyways, it's been Craig Bent, founder of Tech Reviews Help. And again, please leave a like, please subscribe, and please share. And I hope you have a great day.